Lucy Carter loved the smell of the New Haven marketplace. Every alien species brought different scents with them. Sweet ones from the Tuluvians, sharp metallic ones from the Saurites, and earthy ones from the fungal traders. The 9-year-old girl walked between the stalls with her best friend trotting beside her. Brutus was not like other pets. He was a honey badger, brought from Earth when Lucy's family moved to this frontier colony world 3 years ago. The black and white creature wore a small translation collar around his thick neck, though he rarely needed to speak. His actions said everything necessary. The marketplace bustled with activity as dozens of species traded goods and services. Lucy stopped at Rila's stall, where the 4-armed Teluvian merchant sorted colorful fruits into organized piles. Rila's face brightened when she saw the girl approaching. "Little Lucy, and the fierce Brutus." Rila's translator converted her musical language into standard speech. "How are your parents?" "They're good. Dad says the new grain crops are growing well." Lucy reached up to touch one of the purple fruits. "What are these?" "Melek fruits from my homeworld. Very sweet. Would you like to try one?" Before Lucy could answer, Brutus made a low huffing sound. Several aliens who had been walking toward Rila's stall suddenly changed direction, giving the honey badger a wide berth. Lucy noticed this happened often. People seemed afraid of Brutus, though she could never understand why. He was only 13 kilograms of fluff and attitude. Rila leaned closer and lowered her voice. "Lucy, dear, where are your parents today?" "Working at the agricultural center. I'm heading home soon. Why?" The Teluvian's 4 eyes glanced around nervously. "There are rumors. Bad people in the system. Slavers. They've been spotted near New Haven." Lucy felt a chill run down her spine, but Brutus pressed against her leg reassuringly. The honey badger's dark eyes scanned the crowd with surprising intelligence. "Does my dad know? I sent him a message an hour ago. But please, little one, be careful. Don't go to quiet places alone." Lucy nodded and accepted a Melek fruit as a gift. She bit into it as she walked away, the sweet juice running down her chin. Brutus walked slightly ahead now, his stocky body moving with purpose. To anyone who knew Earth animals, his posture screamed alertness. The colony of New Haven sat on a planet that humans had helped terraform. It served as a trading hub for this sector of space, where hundreds of species mingled freely. Lucy had grown up here, learning to speak with aliens as easily as she spoke with other human children. She knew the Teluvians were peaceful traders. The Saurites were proud and sometimes aggressive, and the insectoid Quellan were curious about everything. What she didn't know was that someone had been watching her for 2 days. Grask crouched on a rooftop 3 buildings away, his reptilian eyes focused on the human child through electronic binoculars. The Saurite slaver had hunted sentient beings across a dozen systems, selling them to collectors who paid well for exotic specimens. He had never been caught because he planned everything carefully. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. A human child would bring an impressive price from certain buyers. Grask had researched the species thoroughly. They came from a planet called Earth, classified as a death world due to its dangerous environment and predatory wildlife. But human children were small and weak, much easier to take than adults. The small animal walking with the girl was listed in the colony database as a honey badger, a companion animal from Earth. Grask had looked at the entry and laughed. 13 kilograms. Omnivore. Non-sentient. The database listed it as potentially aggressive, but Grask had dealt with far more dangerous creatures. One stun blast would handle it. His crew waited in a transport vehicle 2 streets over. 3 professionals who had worked with Grask for years. They had taken dozens of targets without major problems. "This would be simple. Boss, she's heading toward the garden district," one of his crew reported through the communication device. Grask smiled, his sharp teeth glinting. The garden district was perfect. Fewer witnesses, plenty of tall plants for cover. The human girl walked through there every evening on her way home from visiting friends. Today would be her last walk as a free being. Lucy finished her fruit and tossed the core into a recycling unit. The sun was starting to set, painting the alien sky in shades of orange and purple. She loved this time of day. The gardens near her home filled with bioluminescent flowers that glowed in the dimming light. "Come on, Brutus. Let's go see the night bloomers before we go home." The honey badger made a small chirping sound, something he did when he was content. Lucy scratched behind his ears as they walked. She had no idea that her parents were frantically trying to reach her on her communication device, which she had left at her friend's house. She had no idea that her father was running toward the garden district right now, his heart pounding with fear after receiving Rila's warning. She had no idea that in 2 minutes, everything would change. The garden district smelled like earth flowers mixed with alien blooms. The paths wound between hedges that grew 3 meters tall, their leaves shimmering with biological light. Lucy knelt beside her favorite cluster of night bloomers, watching as they opened their petals to reveal glowing centers. Brutus stood beside her, but his attention was not on the flowers. His head turned slowly, nostrils flaring. Every muscle in his compact body tensed. A low growl rumbled in his throat, so quiet that Lucy almost missed it. "What's wrong, boy?" Then she saw the shadow. A tall figure stepped out from behind a hedge, and the evening light reflected off scales and sharp teeth. The reptilian alien held something in his hand that looked like a weapon. "Human child," Grask said through his translator, his voice cold and confident. "You will come with me quietly, and your small pet will not be harmed." Lucy's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to scream, but fear froze her voice. Her hand instinctively reached for Brutus, fingers gripping his thick fur. Grask raised his stun weapon, aiming it at the honey badger. "Last chance. Come quietly or watch your animal die." What happened next would echo across the galaxy for years to come, because Grask, for all his research and planning, had made one fatal mistake. He had read about honey badgers in a database, but he had never met one, and he had absolutely no idea what they were capable of when defending their family. The stun blast hit Brutus square in the chest. Grask expected the small creature to drop immediately, muscles locked by the electrical charge. Instead, the honey badger shook his head once, as if annoyed by an insect bite. For one critical second, Grask froze in confusion. His weapon was set to a level that would drop a creature twice this animal's size. The small black and white beast should be unconscious on the ground, but Brutus stood firm, and something had changed in his posture. The honey badger's lips pulled back, revealing sharp teeth. His dark eyes locked onto Grask with an intensity that made the slaver's blood run cold. Then Brutus moved. Earth animals had evolved on a planet where everything wanted to kill everything else. Prey animals developed speed or armor or camouflage. Predators developed strength or venom or pack tactics. Honey badgers had developed something different. They had developed absolute fearless rage combined with a body designed to take punishment and keep fighting. Brutus launched himself at Grask faster than the saurite could track. The honey badger's thick, loose skin made him almost impossible to grab or bite effectively. His claws, designed to dig through rock-hard termite mounds, found purchase in Grask's scaled leg. His teeth, strong enough to crack bone, clamped down on the slaver's ankle. Grask screamed and tried to shake the animal off. Brutus held on and twisted, his entire body spinning with the motion. The sound of tearing flesh filled the garden. The slaver's weapon fell from his hand as he stumbled backward. Lucy found her voice and screamed for help. The sound cut through the evening air, high and terrified. But she did not run, not yet. Not while Brutus was fighting. 3 more figures emerged from the hedges. Grask's crew had heard the commotion and came running. They saw their boss bleeding and struggling against a creature the size of a small dog. It would have been funny if it wasn't so shocking. "Get it off him," Grask roared. The first crew member, a gray-skinned humanoid, pulled out a stun baton and moved toward Brutus. The honey badger released Grask's leg and whirled to face this new threat. The crew member swung the baton down where the animal had been, but Brutus was already moving, too low and too fast. Honey badgers had a fighting style that seemed insane to logical thinking. They went for the most vulnerable spots without any regard for their own safety. Brutus leaped up and caught the crew member's arm, his teeth sinking deep. The alien howled and tried to pull away, but that only made the injury worse. The second crew member, an insectoid with 4 arms, tried to grab Brutus from behind. This was a mistake. Honey badgers had incredibly flexible spines. Brutus twisted in a way that seemed physically impossible and slashed with his claws. The insectoid's face suddenly had 4 parallel cuts across it, one of which barely missed an eye. The creature stumbled back, chirping in pain and alarm. Lucy ran. Her legs finally obeyed her brain's desperate commands. She sprinted down the garden path toward the main colony, still screaming for help. Behind her, she heard sounds that would give her nightmares for weeks. Snarling, screaming. The wet sounds of a predator doing what evolution had designed it to do. The third crew member, Showing more sense than his companions, pulled out a projectile weapon. "I'm going to shoot it." "No, you fool." Grask clutched his bleeding leg. "You'll hit us." But the crew member fired anyway. The projectile missed Brutus by centimeters and embedded itself in a hedge. The honey badger's head snapped toward the shooter. For a moment, his dark eyes calculated the distance, the threat, the priority. Then he made his decision. Brutus charged the shooter with a speed that defied his stocky build. The crew member fired twice more, panic making his aim wild. One shot grazed the honey badger's shoulder, drawing blood but not slowing him down. Pain meant nothing to an animal bred by millions of years of evolution to fight against creatures that could swallow him whole. The shooter turned to run. Another mistake. Predators chase. It's instinct, written into their DNA by countless generations of hunting. Brutus caught up in 3 bounds and leaped at the crew member's back. His claws found fabric and flesh. His teeth found the base of the neck. Colony security arrived 90 seconds after Lucy's first scream. They ran into the garden district with weapons drawn, expecting to find a dangerous situation requiring immediate intervention. What they found made them stop in their tracks. 3 of Grask's crew members were on the ground, injured and bleeding. 1 was unconscious. The other 2 were trying to crawl away from a 13-kilogram ball of black and white fury that stood between them and the direction Lucy had run. Grask himself was still standing, barely with his back against a hedge. His weapon lay meters away where he had dropped it. Blood streamed from multiple wounds. His professional confidence had been replaced by pure terror. Because Brutus was not done with him yet. The honey badger advanced on Grask slowly now. No more rushing charges. This was personal. This creature had threatened Lucy, had pointed a weapon at his child, had tried to take her away. "Stay back." Grask raised his hands defensively. "Someone control this animal." Security Chief Raymond Park stepped forward carefully, his weapon lowered. He recognized Lucy's honey badger from colony records. He also recognized a protection situation when he saw one. "Everyone remain still," Park ordered his team. Then to Grask, "Did you threaten the human child?" Grask's translator sputtered, his words broken by pain and shock. It's just a child." "The animal went crazy." Park looked at his officers. "Check the security recordings now." One officer pulled out a tablet and accessed the Garden District's surveillance system. The footage was clear. Grask approaching Lucy, the weapon raised, the threat spoken. "The attack on Brutus, self-defense," the officer reported. "The animal was protecting a minor from attempted kidnapping." Park nodded slowly. He keyed his communication device. "Dispatch, send medical teams to Garden District. Multiple injured. Also inform David and Ann Carter that their daughter is safe." Her companion animal defended her from an attempted abduction. Brutus had not moved during this exchange. He stood 3 meters from Grask, every muscle ready to explode into action again if the threat persisted. Blood matted his fur from multiple small wounds, but adrenaline kept him alert and focused. "Someone get that animal away from me," Grask begged. As if summoned by destiny, Lucy's voice called out from behind the security team. "Brutus!" The honey badger's entire demeanor changed instantly. His muscles relaxed. His teeth disappeared behind closed jaws. He turned and trotted toward Lucy's voice, tail wagging slightly. David Carter burst through the security perimeter carrying his daughter. Anne was right behind him. When Lucy saw Brutus approaching, she wriggled out of her father's arms and dropped to her knees. "Brutus, you're hurt!" The honey badger pressed against her, making soft chirping sounds. Lucy wrapped her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. Brutus licked her cheek gently. All traces of the fighter vanished. He was just her friend again. Behind them, Grask collapsed as shock finally overcame his body. Medical teams rushed in to stabilize him and his crew. Park stood watching the scene with a thoughtful expression on his face. He had served on 3 different colony worlds. He had dealt with dangerous criminals and wild animals. But he had never seen anything quite like what just happened. A small Earth creature had taken down 4 armed professionals who had kidnapped beings across a dozen systems. Park pulled out his tablet and began typing a report. The Galactic Criminal Database would need to be updated. Grask's file would have a new entry under cause of defeat. Park hesitated, then typed the words that would spread across criminal networks within hours. Defeated by Death World companion animal, human child's protector. Recommend extreme caution when targeting humans. In the garden, as medical teams worked and security recorded evidence, Lucy held Brutus close and whispered, "Good boy. Such a good boy." The honey badger's tail wagged once. Job done, family safe. That was all that mattered. News traveled fast in the criminal underworld. Within hours of Grask's defeat, messages pinged across communication networks throughout the frontier sectors. By the next morning, every slaver, smuggler, and bounty hunter in 3 systems had heard some version of the story. Most didn't believe it at first. Grask had been a legend. 15 years of successful operations, over 200 captures. Never caught, never defeated. The idea that he had been taken down by a pet seemed like a bad joke, but the evidence was hard to ignore. Colony security had released portions of the surveillance footage, and it spread across networks faster than any viral entertainment. Beings across the galaxy watched as a small black and white creature dismantled 4 professional criminals with methodical efficiency. In a dark bar on Station Outreach, 3 bounty hunters sat around a table watching the footage for the 5th time. The station orbited a gas giant 2 systems away from New Haven, and it served as a hub for beings who operated outside galactic law. "Pause it there," one of them said, pointing at the screen. "Watch how it moves. That's not random animal aggression. That's tactical." His companion, a large being with 6 arms, grunted. "It's still just a small creature." Grask must have gotten soft. The 3rd bounty hunter, an older human woman named Diana Webb, shook her head. "You don't understand. That's a honey badger. They're from my homeworld. So, you humans have many animals." Diana pulled up a file on her personal tablet. "Honey badgers are special. On Earth, they fight animals 10 times their size. Lions, hyenas, even buffalo. They don't back down from anything. And that thick skin? It's like natural armor. Bullets can barely penetrate it, and bee stings don't even make them flinch." She swiped through images showing honey badgers on Earth, raiding beehives while being stung hundreds of times, fighting off entire packs of predators, digging through concrete hard ground with their claws. "This animal," Diana continued, "was genetically enhanced for longer life and intelligence, but it kept all its natural instincts. You threaten its family, it doesn't calculate odds or plan escape routes. It just attacks until the threat is gone or it's dead. And honey badgers are really, really hard to kill." The 6-armed bounty hunter set down his drink slowly. "So what you're saying is..." "I'm saying any job that involves humans, especially human children, just became exponentially more dangerous. Because we don't just have weapons or security systems. We have companions who are loyal to the death, and some of those companions are death world predators." The conversation in that bar was repeated in dozens of locations across the sector. Criminals who had never given humans a second thought suddenly started asking questions. What other creatures did humans bond with? How many humans had similar companions? Could the animals be bought off or distracted? The answer to that last question came 3 days later, when a small-time thief on New Haven tried to break into a human residence. The family had 2 dogs, German shepherds descended from Earth's military and police working lines. The thief ended up in the hospital with multiple bite wounds. Security footage showed the dogs positioning themselves between the intruder and the children's bedrooms, working together like trained soldiers. Another update to the criminal database. Another warning spreading through networks. In the legitimate galaxy, the response was different but equally intense. The Galactic Assembly's Xenobiology Committee called an emergency meeting. Professor Quinn, the insectoid scholar who specialized in predator-prey relationships, presented findings that he had been compiling for years. "We have fundamentally misunderstood human-animal relationships," Quinn explained to the assembled representatives. "We assumed humans kept pets for companionship or aesthetic reasons, similar to how some species keep decorative creatures. But humans actually form genuine emotional bonds with other species, and those species reciprocate." On the display screen, footage played showing humans with various Earth animals, dogs herding sheep and protecting homes, cats hunting vermin and sitting on their owners' laps, horses carrying humans into battle, birds delivering messages and performing complex tasks. "What makes this remarkable," Quinn continued, "is that humans select for traits that enhance bonding and protective behavior. They have spent thousands of years breeding animals specifically to be loyal, to be protective, to be part of the family unit. And on a death world like Earth, that means many of these animals are extremely capable fighters." A representative from the Saurite government, the same species as Grask, raised a clawed hand. Are you suggesting these animals pose a security threat? I'm suggesting they pose a threat to anyone who threatens humans. There's a difference. Quinn pulled up statistics. In the 3 years since humans joined the Galactic Assembly, violent crime against human families has resulted in injuries to the perpetrators in 78% of cases. Property crime against human homes has a 63% injury rate. The presence of companion animals correlates directly with these numbers. Another representative spoke up. But surely we can regulate this. Require humans to register dangerous animals or undergo training. A human representative, Ambassador Liu, stood to respond. With respect, you're missing the point. These aren't weapons we carry. They're family members. My daughter has a dog named Pepper. Pepper sleeps in her bed, plays with her toys, and eats treats from her hand. Pepper is also a breed descended from wolves, Earth's apex predators. If someone threatens my daughter, Pepper will defend her. That's not training. That's love. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Species across the galaxy had domesticated food animals or used creatures for transportation. But humans had domesticated predators and made them into guardians. Back on New Haven, Lucy Carter sat in her living room while a medical technician checked Brutus one last time. The honey badger's wounds were healing quickly. Another benefit of his genetic enhancements. He tolerated the examination with patient boredom, only showing interest when Lucy gave him a treat. He's healing perfectly, the technician reported to David and Anne. The enhancements are working exactly as designed. He should be back to full health in a week. After the technician left, Anne sat down beside Lucy. Sweetheart, we need to talk about what happened. Lucy hugged Brutus closer. Am I in trouble? Is Brutus in trouble? No, honey. Neither of you did anything wrong. Brutus protected you, which is what he's supposed to do. But things are going to change now. People know about what happened. They're going to ask questions and want to meet Brutus. Why? He's just my friend. David knelt down to eye level with his daughter, because most species in the galaxy don't have friends like Brutus. They don't understand how we bond with animals. They think Brutus is special or unusual. But he is special, Lucy said firmly. He's the best friend ever. Anne smiled despite the serious situation. Yes, he is. But he's also becoming famous. The security footage has been viewed millions of times across the galactic network. People are fascinated by the idea of a small Earth animal defeating dangerous criminals. Over the next week, Lucy discovered what fame meant. Journalists requested interviews. Scientists wanted to study Brutus. Other families with Earth companion animals reached out to share their own stories. The colony's human population felt a strange mixture of pride and vindication. Their choice to bring Earth animals to the stars was being validated in the most dramatic way possible. Rila, the Teluvian merchant, visited the Carter home with a gift. She presented Lucy with a beautifully woven collar for Brutus, embedded with small lights that would help him be seen at night. Thank you for showing the galaxy what we already knew, Rila said, kneeling to look Lucy in the eye. That humans bring more than just technology to the stars. You bring loyalty and love and protection. These are rarer gifts than any machine. Lucy carefully fitted the new collar on Brutus, who preened under the attention. The lights glowed softly against his black and white fur. That evening, David received a message from Earth's colonial administration. They wanted to discuss expanding the companion animal program to other colonies. There was also interest from the military about training programs for protection animals. Several non-human governments had inquired about obtaining Earth animals for their own security forces. It's happening, David told Anne, as they watched Lucy play with Brutus in the backyard. Humanity's relationship with animals is becoming our calling card in the galaxy. Anne nodded thoughtfully. Do you think that's good or bad? I think it's honest. We've always been a species that doesn't face the universe alone. We bring our friends with us. Maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs to see. In the garden, Lucy threw a ball and Brutus chased it with enthusiasm. To the girl and the honey badger, nothing had really changed. They were still best friends. They still played together. They still protected each other. But around them, across the colony and throughout the galaxy, perspectives were shifting. Humans weren't just another species joining galactic civilization. They were a species that brought Deathworld loyalty to the stars. And that changed everything. 3 weeks after the incident, Professor Quinn arrived on New Haven with a delegation from the Galactic Assembly's Deathworld Study Committee. The group consisted of 12 scholars from different species. all experts in biology, psychology, or xenosociology. They had come to understand something that seemed impossible according to their existing scientific models. How did humans create bonds with creatures that should be their predators? David Carter met them at the colony's administration building. He wore his usual work clothes, nothing fancy, which seemed to surprise some of the delegates who expected something more formal. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," Professor Quinn said, his translator converting his clicking speech into standard language. "We have many questions about human-animal bonding." "I'll try to answer them," David replied. "But I'm just a farmer. I'm not a scientist or an expert. I just know my family and our pets." "That is precisely why we need to speak with you," Quinn explained. "We have read academic papers and watched footage. But we need to understand the practical reality. How does a human family integrate a dangerous animal into daily life?" David led them to his home, where Anne had prepared refreshments and Lucy had reluctantly agreed to miss school for the day. Brutus lay on his favorite cushion near the fireplace, watching the visitors with lazy interest. The honey badger had fully recovered from his injuries, though a few scars remained under his fur. The delegates arranged themselves around the living room, some sitting on furniture, others standing or arranging their bodies in ways suited to their particular physiology. Several of them kept nervous eyes on Brutus. "Is he restrained in any way?" one delegate asked, a bird-like being with iridescent feathers. "No," Lucy answered before her parents could speak. "Brutus goes wherever he wants in the house. He has his own door to the backyard." "And you're not afraid of him?" Lucy looked genuinely confused by the question. "Why would I be afraid?" "He's my friend," Professor Quinn leaned forward. "Young Lucy, this creature injured 4 adults severely. The criminal Grask died 2 days ago from complications related to his wounds. Your friend is capable of killing. Doesn't that concern you?" "People are capable of killing too," Lucy said with the simple logic of childhood. "But we don't assume everyone is dangerous. Brutus only hurts people who try to hurt me. The rest of the time, he's just Brutus." She stood and walked to the honey badger, who raised his head attentively. Lucy scratched behind his ears, and Brutus made a contented chirping sound. Several delegates flinched at the sound, but Lucy just smiled. "See? He likes having his ears scratched. He also likes playing fetch, eating berries, and sleeping on my bed. He's just a regular pet who happens to be really good at protecting me." Anne brought out a tablet showing photographs of Brutus at different ages. "We got Brutus when Lucy was 4 years old. He was just a kit then, only a few months old himself. They grew up together." The delegates examined the photos. Tiny Lucy holding a ball of black and white fluff. 5-year-old Lucy teaching a young Brutus to follow commands. 7-year-old Lucy reading while Brutus napped beside her. The progression showed a relationship developing naturally, built on daily interactions and shared experiences. "This is what we don't understand," Quinn admitted. "In most species, adults protect young, but you allow your young to bond with predators during their most vulnerable years. How is this not dangerous?" David considered the question carefully. "It would be dangerous if we just threw them together without preparation. But humans have been raising children alongside animals for thousands of years. We teach both the child and the animal how to behave." Lucy learned to respect Brutus's needs and signals. Brutus learned that Lucy is family, to be protected and never harmed. "But what if the animal decides the child is prey?" another delegate asked. "That's why we choose carefully," Anne explained. "Honey badgers are naturally protective animals. In the wild, they defend their territory and family groups fiercely. We enhance those instincts through genetic modification, while removing aggressive tendencies toward family members. Brutus is literally incapable of viewing Lucy as prey. His instincts have been shaped by thousands of years of domestication and modern genetic fine-tuning." Professor Quinn made notes on his own tablet. "So you're saying humans have engineered loyalty into species?" "Not engineered," David corrected. "Encouraged. We select animals that show natural bonding behaviors and breed from them. Over many generations, we get animals that want to be with us, that want to protect us. It's a partnership that benefits both species. Brutus gets a safe home, regular food, medical care, and a family. Lucy gets a companion, a protector, and a friend." One of the delegates, a being who looked like a floating collection of tentacles, spoke through a mechanical translator. "But at what cost? You created a living weapon." Lucy stood up abruptly, her face flushed with anger. "Brutus is not a weapon. He's alive. He has feelings. He plays and sleeps and gets happy when I come home from school. Just because he can fight doesn't make him a weapon. The room fell silent. The 9-year-old girl stared down a group of respected scientists and didn't back down. David put a hand on her shoulder, but he didn't contradict her. Professor Quinn broke the silence. "You are correct, young Lucy, I apologize." That was an inappropriate characterization. The meeting continued for another hour. The delegates asked about training methods, dietary requirements, behavioral management, and legal frameworks. But the most important information couldn't be quantified or measured. It was in the way Lucy unconsciously reached out to touch Brutus as she talked, the way Brutus's eyes followed her movements around the room, the way Anne and David spoke about the honey badger as a family member, not a possession. Finally, as the delegation prepared to leave, Professor Quinn asked one last question. "If you could go back knowing what you know now about the danger, would you still bring Brutus into your family?" Lucy didn't hesitate. "Yes, because the danger isn't from Brutus. The danger is from bad people like Grask. Brutus keeps me safe from that. He's the opposite of danger." After the delegation left, David found Anne in the kitchen. "That went better than I expected." "Did it?" "I'm not sure they really understood. Maybe not completely, but they saw that it works. They saw that Lucy isn't afraid, that Brutus is genuinely part of our family. Sometimes seeing is more powerful than understanding." That evening, Professor Quinn sat in his quarters at the Colony Hotel, reviewing his notes and the footage from the interview. He had studied countless species across the galaxy, but humans continued to surprise him. Most species developed intelligence and technology, then separated themselves from their planet's ecosystem. They controlled nature through engineering and science. Humans had done something different. They had brought nature with them, integrated it into their civilization, made it part of their families. The professor pulled up statistics from the Galactic Crime Database. Since the incident with Grask, violent crime against humans on New Haven had dropped by 40%. Other colonies with human populations reported similar trends. Word had spread. Humans had protectors. But more interesting were the requests flooding into Earth's government. 47 species had inquired about obtaining Earth animals for security purposes. 19 colonies wanted to establish companion animal programs. 6 military organizations wanted to discuss training protocols. The honey badger incident had opened a door. Humanity's relationship with animals was no longer just a curiosity. It was becoming a strategic advantage, a cultural export, a way of life that others wanted to understand and potentially adopt. Quinn began writing his report for the Galactic Assembly. He chose his words carefully, knowing that this document would influence policy for decades to come. Humans do not see themselves as separate from their planet's ecosystem. They see themselves as part of it. This fundamental difference in perspective has led to the domestication of numerous species, many of which possess capabilities that rival or exceed technological solutions for similar problems. The bond between human and animal is not merely practical. It is emotional, psychological, and deeply cultural. Any attempt to understand or interact with humanity must account for the fact that humans rarely travel alone. They bring their death world companions with them, and those companions are loyal to the death. He paused, then added one final line. Recommendation: species who value their safety should treat human families as a package deal. To threaten a human is to challenge not just that individual, but their entire bonded group, and death world bonds are not easily broken. In the Carter home, unaware of the galactic implications her relationship with Brutus was creating, Lucy brushed the honey badger's fur before bedtime. Brutus tolerated the grooming with patient dignity, occasionally huffing when she hit a particularly tangly spot. "Good night, Brutus," Lucy whispered as she climbed into bed. The honey badger jumped up beside her, circled 3 times, and curled into a ball at the foot of the bed. His dark eyes scanned the room once before closing. Another day ended. Another night keeping watch. This was what he was born to do. 6 months after the incident, New Haven celebrated its annual Founding Day with a festival that drew visitors from across the sector. The colony had changed in subtle but significant ways. More human families had moved there, bringing their companion animals with them. The marketplace now featured specialized shops selling Earth animal supplies, and everyone noticed that crime had dropped to the lowest level since the colony's founding. Lucy walked through the festival with her parents and Brutus, who wore his light-up collar that Rila had gifted him. Other children waved at her and several asked if they could pet Brutus. Lucy always asked Brutus first, using hand signals they had developed together. The honey badger would either sit calmly, giving permission, or move closer to Lucy, indicating he wasn't in the mood for strangers. Today he was in a good mood. Several children carefully stroked his soft fur, while Lucy explained proper animal etiquette. Never grab or pull. Always let him smell your hand first. And if he moves away, that means he wants space. A young Tuluvian child barely reaching Lucy's shoulder watched with fascination. Does he really fight bad people? Only if they try to hurt someone, Lucy explained. Mostly he just eats, sleeps, and plays. The fighting only happens when necessary. The festival's main stage had been set up for various performances and presentations. Colony Administrator Liu took the microphone, her voice projecting across the crowd. Today we celebrate not just our colony's founding, but the diversity that makes New Haven special. We have 43 different species living here in harmony. And we have learned something important this year. Liu gestured to where the Carter family stood. We learned that protection comes in many forms. Security systems, law enforcement, and community cooperation all matter. But sometimes protection comes from unexpected places, from bonds of loyalty that transcend species boundaries. She paused as medical teams wheeled out a display board showing crime statistics. The numbers were stark. A 42% reduction in violent crime. A 57% reduction in property crime. A complete elimination of kidnapping attempts. These improvements began, Liu continued, after one incident showed criminals that New Haven families are protected not just by laws, but by love. The Carter family has agreed to receive a special commendation today for advancing interspecies understanding. David, Anne, and Lucy walked onto the stage. Brutus trotted beside Lucy, completely unbothered by the crowd's attention. When they reached the center, Liu presented them with a crystal sculpture showing a child and an animal standing together. This represents what you've taught us, Liu said. That strength comes in many sizes and courage comes from the heart. Lucy was supposed to just smile and wave, but she had insisted on saying something. Her parents had reluctantly agreed, not sure what their 9-year-old daughter would say to a crowd of hundreds. Lucy took the microphone. Her voice was small but clear. People keep asking me what it's like to have Brutus as my friend. They ask if I'm scared or if it's hard or what special things we do, but I don't think I'm doing anything special. Brutus and I just take care of each other. When I'm sad, he sits with me. When I'm playing, he plays too. And when someone tried to hurt me, he kept me safe. She looked down at Brutus, who sat at her feet watching her with those intelligent dark eyes. I think that's what friends do. No matter what species they are, we take care of each other. Earth animals aren't scary. They're family. And family protects family. That's all? The crowd applauded. Lucy handed the microphone back to Liu and returned to her place with her parents. As they walked off stage, Anne whispered, "That was perfect, sweetheart." But Lucy's words rippled further than anyone expected. The speech had been broadcast across local networks, and within hours it had spread across the galactic information sphere. Billions of beings heard a human child explain the philosophy that had shaped Earth's relationship with animals for thousands of years. Family protects family. On a military academy 3 systems away, instructors added Lucy's speech to their curriculum on human tactical doctrine. On Earth, conservation organizations reported a massive increase in funding from alien donors who wanted to help preserve the species that humans bonded with. On dozens of colony worlds, families requested information about obtaining Earth companion animals. The most significant change happened in places that humans never saw. In the dark stations and hidden bases where criminals planned their operations, new rules were added to the codes that governed illegal activities. Rule 73. Do not target human children. Rule 74. If you see an Earth animal with a human, assume it is trained for combat. Rule 75. If you attack a human family, expect casualties. These rules weren't written from kindness or moral awakening. They were written from practical experience. Grask's death had been the first lesson. In the months that followed, 3 other criminals had tried various schemes involving human families. All 3 ended in hospitals, injured by animals that ranged from a German shepherd to a house cat. The house cat incident became particularly famous. A burglar had tried to rob a human residence on a station near the galactic core. The family's cat, a small orange tabby named Muffin, had alerted the owners and then proceeded to scratch the burglar's face badly enough to leave permanent scars. The burglar had been a professional thief for 20 years and had never been injured on a job before. It was possessed, he told station security. That little demon knew exactly where to strike. Diana Webb, the human bounty hunter, watched these developments with satisfaction. She had retired from active bounty hunting and now served as a consultant, teaching other species about human capabilities and Earth animals. Her services were in high demand. Today, she sat in a lecture hall at the Galactic Law Enforcement Academy, addressing 200 cadets from 40 different species. Earth animals have been shaped by millions of years of evolution in one of the galaxy's harshest environments, she explained. Then humans spent thousands of years selecting the ones who bonded with us, who protected us, who worked alongside us. What you're seeing isn't random. It's the result of the longest genetic and social engineering project in human history. She pulled up images of various Earth animals, dogs of different breeds, cats, horses, birds, even exotic animals like wolves, bears, and big cats that some humans kept in sanctuaries. Each of these species has been modified through selective breeding to enhance specific traits: loyalty, protectiveness, intelligence. And in some cases, like the honey badger, we just enhanced what was already there. Honey badgers were already fearless. We just made them smarter and longer lived. A cadet raised a tentacle. How do we defend against these animals if necessary? Diana smiled grimly. You don't, that's the point. If you're in a situation where an Earth animal is attacking you, you've already made a serious mistake. These animals only attack when their humans are threatened. So the defense is simple. Don't threaten humans. Another cadet asked. What if we need to arrest a human criminal who has a companion animal? Good question. The answer is negotiation. Talk to the human. Explain the situation. Most companion animals are trained well enough that they'll obey their human's commands even in stressful situations. If the human tells their animal to stand down, it will. But if you go in aggressively, treating the human as a threat, the animal will respond accordingly. The lecture continued for 2 hours. Diana covered everything from recognizing different Earth animals to understanding their behavioral signals, to proper protocols for interacting with human families. By the end, every cadet understood that the galaxy had changed. Humans weren't just another species to manage. They were a species that had brought a piece of Earth's ecosystem with them, and that ecosystem included some of the most effective predators evolution had ever created. Back on New Haven, the festival continued into the evening. Lucy played games, ate exotic foods, and enjoyed being a normal kid. People recognized her, but they also gave her space. She wasn't a celebrity. She was just a girl with a unique friend. As the sun set and bioluminescent decorations lit up the festival grounds, Lucy sat on a bench eating sweet ice while Brutus dozed at her feet. Other families passed by, some human, many alien, all mixing together in the way that made New Haven special. A Saurite couple walked past, the same species as Grask. They saw Brutus and instinctively veered away. But then the female Saurite paused and approached carefully. Excuse me, she said through her translator. Is this the honey badger who— Yes, Lucy said simply. This is Brutus. The Saurite knelt down, keeping a respectful distance. I wanted to say thank you. Grask had taken my sister's child 3 years ago. We never saw her again. What your friend did, it brought justice for many families. Lucy didn't know what to say to that. She looked at Brutus, who had woken up and was watching the Saurite carefully. I'm sorry about your niece, Lucy finally said. Brutus is a good friend. He just did what friends do. The Saurite nodded and stood. May you have long life together. After she walked away, Lucy hugged Brutus close. Sometimes the world was complicated and sad. Sometimes bad things happened and good things happened and they all mixed together. But through it all, she had Brutus. And Brutus had her. That was simple enough to understand. 2 years after the incident, Lucy turned 11. The galaxy had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. Human colonies reported increased immigration as families felt safer bringing children to frontier worlds. Earth animal breeding programs expanded to meet growing demand. And most significantly, the perception of humanity had shifted across countless species. Humans were no longer just the newcomers from that dangerous planet called Earth. They were the species that brought loyalty with them. The species whose families included protectors from one of the most violent ecosystems in known space. The species you didn't threaten unless you were prepared for consequences. Lucy noticed these changes in small ways. Shopkeepers were friendlier. Other children asked questions about Earth with genuine curiosity instead of fear. And when she walked through the colony with Brutus, people smiled instead of moving away. The honey badger had become something of an icon. His image appeared on colony promotional materials. Other families who got Earth animals often came to meet him, wanting to understand what a successful human-animal bond looked like. Brutus tolerated the attention with his usual patient indifference, caring only about staying close to Lucy. On the morning of her birthday, Lucy found her parents waiting in the kitchen with serious expressions. Brutus sat between them, and Lucy felt a flutter of worry. "Am I in trouble?" "No, sweetheart," Anne said quickly. "We need to talk about something important." "Sit down." Lucy sat, and Brutus immediately moved to her side. David pulled out a tablet showing a message from Earth's government. Several colonies have requested experienced handlers to help establish companion animal programs. They want people who understand how to raise children alongside Earth animals, how to train both species to work together safely. They've asked if we would consider moving to help start these programs. Lucy's heart dropped. "Leave New Haven?" "Not necessarily," Anne said. "We could stay, but this is a chance to help other families have what we have, to make other colonies as safe as New Haven has become. We wanted to discuss it with you," David added, "because this affects you more than anyone. Brutus is your companion. This is your life too." Lucy looked at Brutus, who returned her gaze with those intelligent, dark eyes. She thought about the Saurit woman who had thanked her at the festival, about all the families who had lost children to criminals like Grask, about how safe she felt walking anywhere in New Haven now. Would Brutus come with us? "Of course," Anne said. "Brutus goes where you go. That's not even a question." Lucy thought for a long moment. "What would we do at these other colonies?" David explained. "We would teach families how to properly bond with Earth animals. Your mom and I would handle the scientific and training aspects, but you and Brutus would be examples, showing that a child and an animal can grow up together safely, that the bond benefits both. So we'd be helping people? Yes, just like Brutus helped you." Lucy made her decision. "Then we should go. But can we visit New Haven sometimes?" Her parents smiled with obvious relief. "Absolutely. This is home. We'll always come back." 3 months later, the Carter family stood in the departure area of New Haven Spaceport. They were heading to a colony called Frontier's Edge, a young settlement that had requested help establishing its companion animal program. 50 families there had already received Earth animals, but they needed guidance on integration and training. Ryla came to see them off, bringing gifts and tears. "You've changed this place," the Teluvian said, hugging each family member. She even hugged Brutus, who tolerated it with dignity. "New Haven will miss you." "We'll be back," Lucy promised. "This isn't goodbye forever." As their ship lifted off, Lucy watched New Haven shrink below them. The colony had been her home for most of her life. She had friends there, memories, a whole life built in those streets and gardens. But she also understood something important now. Home wasn't just a place. Home was family. And family protected each other no matter where they went. The journey to Frontier's Edge took 2 weeks. Lucy spent the time studying information about the colony, learning about the families they would help. She practiced training exercises with Brutus, reviewed safety protocols, and prepared herself for her new role. On the final day of the journey, she sat in the observation deck with Brutus on her lap, watching stars streak by in faster-than-light travel. Professor Quinn had sent her a message that morning. He was writing a book about human-animal bonds and wanted to include their story. Lucy read his words carefully. "Your relationship with Brutus represents something that many species struggle to understand. The willingness to be vulnerable with another creature, the trust required to sleep beside a predator, the love that makes that predator into a protector. These are uniquely human traits, and they may be humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. She showed the message to Brutus. He thinks we're special. Brutus yawned, showing all his teeth, then settled back down for a nap. Lucy laughed. To Brutus, none of this was complicated. He didn't care about galactic perceptions or cultural impacts. He cared about Lucy being safe, fed, and happy. Everything else was just noise. Frontier's Edge came into view through the observation window. The colony was smaller than New Haven, its buildings newer and less established. But Lucy could see potential there. She could see families who needed help, children who needed protection, and a community that would benefit from Earth's greatest export. Not technology, not weapons, but the simple idea that different species could be family. David stood beside her, watching their new home approach. Nervous? A little. What if I mess up? What if I teach them wrong? You won't. You know Brutus better than anyone. You know what a real bond looks like. Just show them what you showed New Haven. Show them that love is stronger than fear. The ship docked. The family gathered their belongings. Brutus walked beside Lucy, his new collar glowing softly in the station lights. As they exited into Frontier's Edge, a crowd waited to meet them. 50 families with their new Earth animals. Dogs of various breeds. Cats, a few birds. One family even had a ferret. The animals ranged from calm to excited, but all showed signs of proper bonding with their humans. Children held leashes or carried smaller animals. Adults watched their companions carefully. Lucy looked at them all and realized something. This was what Grask's defeat had truly created. Not fear or intimidation, but opportunity. The chance for families across the galaxy to experience what humans had known for thousands of years. The joy and security of being part of a cross-species pack. A girl about Lucy's age approached with a German Shepherd puppy on a leash. Are you Lucy Carter? The one with the honey badger? Yes. This is Brutus. The girl knelt down carefully, letting her puppy sniff Brutus. The honey badger tolerated the investigation with patient dignity. I'm Sarah. This is Otto. He's only 6 months old. I'm scared I won't train him right. Lucy knelt beside her. Can I tell you a secret? I didn't train Brutus. We trained each other. You learn what Otto needs and he learns what you need. Then you just grow up together, that's all it takes. Sarah looked relieved. Really? That's all? That's all. Love and time. The rest figures itself out. Over the following months, Lucy and her family worked with the Frontier's Edge families. They taught safety protocols and training techniques. They explained animal behavior and warning signs. But mostly, they showed by example how natural the bond could be. Children watched Lucy play with Brutus and learned that their animals were friends, not tools. Adults watched David and Anne work and learned that successful bonding required patience and consistency. The colony transformed as families grew more confident in their relationships with their Earth companions. 6 months after arriving, Frontier's Edge reported its crime statistics. Violent crime down 68%, property crime down 72%, 0 attempted kidnappings. Professor Quinn included these numbers in his book, which became required reading at the Galactic Assembly. Other colonies requested the Carter family's help. Earth's government established a formal program, training other families to do similar work. But for Lucy, sitting in her new room on Frontier's Edge with Brutus sleeping at the foot of her bed, none of the statistics mattered as much as the simple truth she had learned in New Haven's Garden District. When you love someone, you protect them. When they love you back, they protect you too. Species didn't matter. Size didn't matter. What mattered was the bond itself, strengthened by daily care and mutual trust. Grask had learned this lesson too late. He had seen a small child and a small animal and assumed both were weak. He hadn't understood that strength comes in many forms. That a 13-kilogram honey badger could be more dangerous than a weapon when defending family. That a 9-year-old girl could change galactic perceptions by simply being friends with an animal. The galaxy had learned from Grask's mistake. They learned to respect the bonds that humans formed. They learned that Deathworld loyalty was real and powerful. They learned that when you threaten a human's family, you face more than just that human. You face everything they love. And on a death world, love has teeth. Lucy fell asleep to the sound of Brutus's gentle snoring. Outside her window, Frontier's edge settled into peaceful night. Families slept safely, protected by laws and security systems and community cooperation, but also protected by something simpler and older. Protected by the bonds between species that had learned to call each other family. In the darkness, Brutus's eyes opened briefly. He scanned the room, checked Lucy's breathing, confirmed all was well. Then he closed his eyes again. Another day ended. Another night keeping watch. This was what he was born to do. This was what humans had shaped his species to do for thousands of years. And he would do it until his last breath because that's what family meant. That's what it always meant. Across every species and every world. Family protects family. From the smallest honey badger to the largest human, this truth remained constant, and the galaxy was learning to respect it.